anyone.
No way.
Whereas right now, we do have American troops on the ground and American carriers off the shore. So again,
Right.
Damascus has to be destroyed and America has to be somehow deactivated or something like that. I think that China is not mentioned in Ezekiel 38. Maybe China will take care of America and then the rest will come down towards Israel. I don't know. Look, I don't want to start speculations. I know one thing. In my Bible, Damascus will be destroyed and America will not come to help Israel.
Yeah.
These are the two things I know from the Bible.
So I think you and I agree on this. It's safe to say that we are en route to the parts being assembled, the stage being propped, set for what could be Ezekiel, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, are you doing the same thing, Amir? I get up every morning, and the first thing I do is 30 seconds of news. 30 seconds, that's all I need. I turn on to find out if Damascus has been struck. Because if I understand my Bible right and my timetable right, Isaiah 17:1's got to take place. And what is it? Jeremiah 49, I think, maybe. That explosion or detonation of Damascus, it says that there'll be a fire started in the wall of Damascus, and it shall be completely consumed and never again inhabited. That's never happened. And so I watch for Damascus, and I watch right now I hate to say this. It pains me to say this. But you said it, how Ezekiel shows us that there's no nation, when Ezekiel battle takes place, no nation comes to the aid of Israel. She's all alone, which clearly means either the United States has a completely different political view of Israel by that time, or America is incapable of responding to help, can't do it, or there is no America, or something has got to disable Israel's strongest historical ally, the United States. And as much as we do not like this administration, at least currently, there's nonstop flights of supplies coming in to assist Israel. Church family, that is going to, when the Ezekiel battle happens, the U.S. will not play a role at all whatsoever, which is of great concern. Amir, would you mind telling people about it's Israel's understanding that Hamas jumped the gun? Do you understand what I mean by that term, jump the gun?
Yes. 6 months ago, on April 8th, I published on my Telegram channel the information that we received from someone who is well versed with the corridors of Tehran and Baghdad. And he basically gave us this information. And he said, look, guys, you need to prepare yourself, because what Tehran is planning for you and plotting for the last few years, first with General Qasem Soleimani and now with Ismail Qaani, these are the leaders of the Al-Quds Force. The Al-Quds Force is the unit in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that is, their mission is to export the Iranian Shiite revolution to the region and create a ring of fire around Israel in order to wait for the day of judgment, they call it, the day of battle, where all of the proxies at once will fire thousands of rockets and overwhelm the Iron Dome and any other missile defense systems that we have. And then under that umbrella of rockets, they will immediately barge through the walls and the fences with their vehicles and motorcycles. They will take over Israeli settlements and military bases. They will take thousands of Israelis hostages. Israel will take a week to even recover from the first strike. And before you know it, Israel might even have to come to an end, because these attacks will come from 4 different corners, 4 different directions. That is, or that was, the grand plan of the Ayatollahs. And what happened on October 7th is that Hamas disobeyed and jumped the gun earlier because it saw an opportunity. And you have to understand, no one knew about that day except a few people everyone knew that Hamas is getting ready for this big plan. But Hamas deceived even Iran and Hezbollah.
That's key.
By
Yes.
jumping the gun earlier than planned, because they wanted to take the glory for themselves. Even their own operatives, their own terrorists, when they gathered them at 5 a.m. that Saturday morning, none of them knew that this is it. They thought this is another exercise.
Right.
And they told them, guys, this morning, it's not an exercise, it's the real deal. And that's it. So it was such a very well kept secret, and Hezbollah was shocked. You know, if Hezbollah knew about it, if the Iranian proxies in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen knew about it, if Tehran knew about it, they would have ordered everyone to attack simultaneously. They did not know. They were shocked. And Israel, as I said before, we were under the understanding that Hamas is not as bad as Hezbollah, so we need to get ready from the northern border for the worst. And even in the first hour of this attack on Saturday morning, the Israeli special forces were actually called up to the north. We thought this is a distraction for the real deal that is about to come from the north. It took us an hour to understand that Hezbollah knew nothing about it, and that the proxies in the rest of the surroundings in Syria and in Iraq and Yemen, they did not know about it. And that's why we immediately rushed all the way down to the border to take care of business there. So thankfully, I see it as a miracle.
Yes.
It's a miracle that this whole simultaneous attack did not take place. A. B, from what we found on the ground, and from the number of people that infiltrated, and the weapons we found, and the maps, and the instructions, and the manuals, they planned on something 10 times bigger, and they planned on being able to keep whatever they took over for weeks. They had manuals of how to survive and how to be able to do that. They were heading towards bigger Israeli cities and bigger Israeli military installations.
Yes.
The quick response of the Israeli teams managed to stop this massacre closer to the border, and managed to stop it at 1400, because let me tell you something, the amount of weapon and ammunition and stuff that they brought with them should have killed at least 10,000 people. And if they only had things done, or if they had things done as well as the way they planned, things would have been 10 times worse. So again, there's the local miracle of them not doing what they wanted to do, to the extent of what they wanted to do, and the regional miracle of everybody else not even knowing about it, therefore they couldn't do it at the same time. Look, God protected us. The enemy tried, the enemy struck, but not to the point of our extinction. And we have to remember that this is now, it brought Israel to the point of the highest alert. You know, when Putin is trying to recruit soldiers, everybody's trying to run away from the country. When
That's
Israel is trying to recruit soldiers, everybody is flocking back to the country.
Did you see?
200,000 Israelis came back from abroad. Another 150,000 were already here. 350,000 reservists are called in. And right now, Israel has the largest number of people on uniform on its borders. We have 100,000 soldiers on the southern border, 100,000 in the northern border, and another 150,000 in the West Bank and the Jordan Valley. We are the highest alert ever. And so the plan to come from all directions and to surprise us is no longer something that the Iranians can execute.
Mercy.
And I see it as a great miracle. I try to also focus on those things because remember 9/11, Jack. You
Yeah.
and I know that 9/11 was supposed to be 10 times bigger
That's right.
than what it was. And you and I know that it wasn't God's judgment, it was actually the mercies of God, because things should have been, it could have
Yes.
been much more difficult than they were.
Yep.
And remember, proportionally, Israel suffered a blow that is equal to 15 times 9/11.
Yeah, can you explain that to everybody, Amir? People, listen to what he just said. This is not exaggeration. What the number he's going to give you is a population.
1,400 people for 10 million population of 8 million Jews compares to the 4,000 that died in America for 350 million, says that what we suffered is 15 times bigger as in proportion to the population than what America. It's as if America lost on 9/11 50,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking you, if you would have lost 50,000 people, I mean, 4,000 brought you all the way to Afghanistan and Iraq. Can you imagine 50,000 in less than one day? Now, forget about that. What we had gone through is not just plane hitting a building and killing people on the spot. We went through hours of Nazi ISIS-style executions. What our rescue and search and rescue teams found, they have never seen in their entire lifetime.
Right.
We found families in their homes where the father's eye was gouged, where the mother's one breast was cut off, where the 5-year-old girl's foot was cut off, and the 7-year-old boy, his fingers were cut off. And while they were bleeding to death, the terrorists started having lunch in a table nearby. They watched them suffer, and when it was all done, they burned them alive. Now, we saw that. We saw a pregnant woman that her belly was open with a knife, and then that knife was cutting the unborn baby. I mean, it was stuck in the unborn baby, and then she was shot in the back of her head. We found piles of kids, 10 children on this pile and 10 on this pile, burned alive. We tried to find bullet holes. They were not dead. They were burned alive. These are atrocities that were never seen, even not in the Nazi time. And so it's not just that we lost that number of people, it's even how we lost it and where we lost it. We will not stop until Hamas is eradicated, and every person that collaborated with them will eventually be executed. We're now passing a law. Israel doesn't execute people, but the only case we executed someone is when it was a Nazi criminal like Adolf Eichmann. And right now we're legislating a new legislation that will equal Hamas and the collaborators of Hamas to the Nazis and their collaborators, and we're going to see executions done in Israel once again. And let me conclude with this. Under Gaza right now, there are 40,000 terrorists in tunnels.
Yes.
Gaza may be a city above the ground, but there is another city under the ground. And under the ground, there is 500 kilometers length of tunnels, 1,300 tunnels. Some of them are more than 200 foot deep under the ground with different levels. And we are talking about 30 to 40,000 terrorists that will either come out surrendering or will be eliminated by the IDF. And even if they come out surrendering and we capture them, we are going to execute them according to this new legislation that we're passing right now. Yeah. So if you're terrified with whatever the death toll in Gaza is right now, and by the way, Israel is not aiming at civilian population. We are calling the civilians to leave the area we're about to bomb ahead of time. And once they are out, we we attack. And I'm telling you, we started attacking. In the last 48 hours, we are actually hitting the tunnels themselves. We will not stop until this enemy will be eradicated. Now, it's not going to stop there.
Right.
Because once we're done there, we need to go and take care of business with Hezbollah. And once we're done there, if there's any other enemy along the border with Syria, see, that's the Middle East language. We've been talking English and French with them or Hebrew with them so far. They only understand Arabic. Yeah. And this is the only way, if you truly understand Middle East and Middle East affairs, the only way they will fear you is not if you offer them peace deals and not if you offer them, come and work in my place and come and have this. And no, if you completely annihilate your enemies, that's when you will have peace. When we defeated Jordan and we defeated Egypt, now we have peace with them.
Yes.
And the Saudis and the Emiratis, they count on us to defeat Iran. That's why they want peace with us. Every eye of every moderate country in the Middle East is on Israel right now, and the end game will determine what our future is going to be like. And when I look at Ezekiel and I see that the Saudis, Sheba and Dedan, are protesting against the invasion, it seems like they're on our side, not assisting us, but at least on our side. I can conclude from that this current conflict will end up with Israel destroying Hamas, and as a way to tell everybody else around us, if you are messing up with us, you will have scourged land wherever you are. And so, look, I've never seen such resolve in the Israelis. Never seen. This is a different country. If you thought you know Israel after October 7th is a different country. We're a very different country. We do not trust our neighbors. We're ready to do whatever it takes because this is an existential threat. Now, of course, as a believer, I know the end of the story, but for the Israelis who don't know the end of the story, they know if we're not doing it right now, we won't be here. So they're fighting for their life right now. And I'm telling you, the real war hasn't started yet.
Mm-hmm. So, Amir, the issue of what is now with its expansion, I want everybody to understand, maybe they already do, but since October 7th, the escalation of rhetoric, of war talk, it's quite remarkable if you think about it, everybody. October 7th happens in a far, far away place that without modern technology, you never would have known it happened. But not only do you know that it happened, but all of a sudden, almost immediately, nations began war posturing. They weren't even involved in it, so to speak. Again, I mentioned earlier tonight, North Korea. Taiwan's under great threat tonight because of China. We have been told to evacuate the North Pacific Ocean. China wants us out. Canada recently had one of their, it was either a surveillance aircraft or weather aircraft, was almost knocked out of the sky by a Chinese fighter jets. Not missile, but almost hit it. Intimidation tactics, things like this going on. As we talked about earlier, U.S. assets in the Middle East. If you've been, most of you haven't, but for years, Amir and I have talked about if we were evil, what would we do to take down America? Well, what you would do is you would take advantage of a depleted United States. You would wait. Patience is your friend. And you would get the opportunity to where the United States is embroiled in something in the Middle East. embroiled in something in the North Pacific with China or someone, and then that would be the time. And we talked about this for years. We would sit around and drink coffee and say, how could things possibly play out according to Scripture? We would think about plan A and how silly that one was, or maybe there's elements of plan A. Or what about B? Well, Jeremiah says this. And then, and it's wonderful. It's a blast to look at the Scripture and the time and the age in which you and I live in. But just understand that no matter where you are in the world, no matter who you are, no matter what your religion has been up until this moment, the God of the Bible is not inviting you to know one more religion. He's not asking you to